You're welcome back to the program. The Electoral Commission has asked the various assembly units that failed to get nominations for the forthcoming district level elections to submit their nominations by January 17, 2015. Head of Communications at the Electoral Commission, Christian Owusu-Pare, assures that enough arrangements have been made to ensure that a free and fair process is held. District Assembly and Unit Committee elections is slated for March 3 later this year.
Our plan was that we wanted to have the elections by the close of December last year, but we encountered some challenges when we were preparing to have the voter registration, the revision of the voters register. First of all, you will recall that the Commission wanted to do the limited registration somewhere in June, and the Ghana Education Service indicated that because the students were going to write some crucial exams, it wouldn't be possible for the Education Service to release the teachers. And of course, we rely extensively on teachers when we do the registration. It wasn't going to be possible for them to release the teachers for that period of time. So they agreed with us, or we agreed with them, that we will reschedule the registration until after the school session was over. And when schools closed and we wanted to do the registration, then came the issue of the acceptance of the National Health Insurance Card as one of the identity documents. And that became a matter for determination by the court. So once again, we have to put the registration on hold pending the decision by the courts. And so when the court finally decided and the way was clear for us to go into the registration, some time had been lost. And it was not possible for us to had all the processes gone through before the end of December. And so we had to reschedule the elections to March this year. Well, in 2010, we had a lot of challenges. Challenges because we were trying to reform the district assembly concept altogether. And that meant that certain legislations had to be put in place before we could have the elections. By the time we got the law passed, and so we could proceed with arrangements for the district level election, then we had lost considerable time, and that meant that we had very limited time to do the printing of the ballots. And so we couldn't actually print all the ballot papers within the limited time, and we had to stagger the elections. That was the cause of we holding elections in one area at a particular time and another time holding it in a different area. We said that we could do that because what happened in one electoral area didn't have any impact at all on the outcome of the elections in the other electoral area. So it could be done. But this time we're trying to avoid situations like that. And so we have ample time now, between now and the elections on 3rd March, to do all the printing so we can take off at the same time at all centers where the elections are being contested. So the kind of staggering of elections that we saw in 2010 will not be the experience this time. Well, unfortunately, I don't have the figures here. It's a composite budget that we presented to government from the registration to through exhibition of the voters register to the end of the elections. I don't have the figures available at the moment, but that can be made available at another time. So from now until the 17th, anybody who lives in any of the areas where there were no nominations and is now interested in contesting the election can go and pick a nomination form, fill it and return it to the Deputy Returning Officer Special Duties. And that must be done before 5 o'clock on the 17th of this month. Well, the nation should expect a peaceful and successful district level elections. We have all the materials that we need. Indeed, we have made orders for all the materials, and we're hopeful that we'll receive the materials in good time. And so nobody who goes to the polling station on that day will not be able to go through the process. Of course, there will be the verification of the fingerprints of voters. And if people go there with their fingers clean, they were not registered as FOs, and their fingers are clean, nothing has happened to the fingerprint marks, and so on and so forth, we are looking forward to a situation where everybody will be able to go through smoothly. Now that the law has been amended, and so they can on their own gather people and talk to them, I expect that they will be circumspect in what they say and not go about maligning their competitors. If they will go through their campaigns devoid of any hate speeches and maybe so anything that will tend to downplay the opportunities of their opponents, if they can avoid situations like that, I believe that we're going to have a very, very good district level elections this year. I think that everybody must be interested in who represent them at the district assembly level. So when people understand the issues this way, I believe that the turnout at the polls will increase considerably.
I have over the telephone former president of the National Association of Local Authorities of Ghana, George Chaiba. George, I'm grateful for your time here.
No, thank you for the opportunity.
Well, now, what we have been told and what we have observed here at Joy News is a seeming lack of interest in the district level elections. Are you surprised about this turnout?
Not at all. I'm not at all surprised.
I see. What do you think could be the reason behind this lack of interest in the district level elections?
Yeah, thank you very much, and greetings to your cherished listener. I have observed a multiplicity of factors culminating to the low patronage of the district assembly elections. First of all, publicity on the elections are not high, so to speak. There isn't enough publicity. The second point is that people's hopes, expectations, and aspirations in terms of the ability of the assemblies to deliver is also, not adequate. It's like the aspirations have been shattered because the objective for the establishment of the assemblies is to deliver effective and efficient service to the people. And for obvious reasons, the hopes are shattered. The next one is that, you see, Article 248 of the Constitution envisages a non-partisan district assembly or non-partisan district assembly system through the elections, through the establishment of the structures. But in practice, the system is partisan, and for that matter, it has polarized the country. National partisan activities have deeply and sharply polarized this country, and it has covertly trickled down into the assembly system. The reasons are that, one, if you look at the composition in Article 242, 30% appointed, 70% elected. So the 70% elected, let's give it the benefit of the doubt, but the 30% appointed, from 1993 through up to today, there have been extreme partisanship consideration in the appointment of these people. Instead of appointing, the expected persons as per the constitutional arrangement, it has been used to compensate people who have supported one party or the other, to win elections. The next, and for that matter, it has affected the quality of deliberations in the assembly. The other thing is that district chief executives who are supposed to lead a non-partisan assembly have themselves exhibited extreme partisanship. As I speak, you could monitor the airways. You have MMDCs who would every morning go to a studio or a radio station to speak for their parties, even though they are chief executives of the district, presiding over non-partisan assembly. And deliberations in the House are also skewed in that respect. The third factor is that political parties have inadvertently found a way of influencing the district assembly election. And for that matter, you have elected assembly members whose allegiance is to Party A, and then those whose allegiance are to Party B, especially between MPP and NDC. So the whole system is polarized. So what? And you know our system, the winner takes all principle has permeated the body politic. So when people observe that, you know, when NDC is in power, the assembly appears to be a surrogate of the NDC as a party and government. On the other side, or on the flip side of it, too, if MPP is in power, it happens. And political party activists have come out openly to advocate for, you know, their party people to contest the election. If you listen to Mr. Johnson Sedunketia in Sunyani 2012, he said about 60% of the assembly persons who were elected were NDC people. And for that matter, NDC controlled the assembly. He said it openly. Recently, I think in the central region, he also stated clearly that even though assembly elections are supposed to be non-partisan, he's urging the NDC people to contest, to win the seat. So clearly, the thing is practically non-partisan. So it has taken, you know, the enthusiasm of the other side of the political party divide.
But you see, George, the shocker this time is not only is the voter uninterested, but even someone to stand to be voted for is also a problem in some districts. How can we interpret that?
Yes, I was coming to that as another factor. You see, you are elected as an assembly member, as I have been elected. I get into the assembly, and there is nothing concrete that the assembly will be able to do, one, to support my ability to function as an elected assembly member. Because the law prescribes that I consult the elected before I come to the assembly. I have to interact with the assembly on several issues affecting the development discourse of my municipality, even including national issues. But the resources to be able to do that job is not provided. So that one incapacitates me. And then again, the assembly prepares a development program, and I can assure you that there are several electoral areas in this country which will not witness any single development throughout the 4-year discourse of the assembly member. So he thinks that he will go to the people to elect them, promise them, you know, to deliver effective and efficient service, and then ultimately there's nothing that is done in his electoral area. So why does he take interest in that? Apart from that, remuneration is not adequate. It's just not there. You go to an assembly and you are paid an allowance, a transport allowance of 3 Ghana cedis and a sitting allowance of 20 Ghana cedis in this modern trend. So why should the person go there to waste his time? That is also a factor.
So this poor patronage, how does it affect the governance system?
Well, it seriously affects the governance system because if you look at the constitutional dispensation, means Article 240, the assemblies are supposed to be structures of governance closest to the people, structures of development closest to the people, structures of accountability closest to the people. And these are very critical deliverables. And for that matter, if for several reasons that I've described, the structure, that's such an important structure of governance, is not able to perform its functions as expected by the constitutional arrangement, then there's a complete, break in the relationship in terms of governance between the local level and the national level, and that it certainly affects the discourse of development and governance of this country.
How do we make it better? I think we have lost George there. Very interesting conversation with the former president of NALAC, George Chei Baffour, on the poor patronage and absolutely low interest in the district level elections. Now, Christian Owusu-Pare spoke earlier in that soundbite you heard, where he also blames the court hearing for the delay in the whole process, and telling us more about the fact that indeed some areas. Right, I understand George is over the telephone line. I'll tell you more about what Christian has been saying over the soundbite in a bit. But let's get back to George. So George, I was asking that how can we make the system better? What can we do to revive this interest?
Yes, first of all, we have partisan national elections as a superstructure, superintending over a supposed non-partisan system at the local level. But in practice, it is partisan. So my first admonition is that we have to make the system partisan. Every electoral area, the parties will have to go to congresses and elect candidates to contest as assembly members on the ticket of their respective political parties. MMDC's positions must be made elective based on partisanship. When it happens that way, political parties will inject a lot of dynamism into the electoral process. Number two, you know, the Constitution has a very laudable expectation: good governance, accountability, and participatory development. This expectation, has some elements that go with it. That's why the Constitution prescribes in Article 252 that 5% minimum of the total revenues of Ghana shall be set aside for distribution to assemblies to undertake development. Because as I speak, assemblies are responsible for sanitation, for education, for environmental management, for drainage, for everything, almost everything, because it's responsible for the overall development of the district. And for that matter, Ghanaians must ensure that the constitutional obligation on every central government to pass with the 7.5% disassembly common fund to assemblies is adhered to. Because we cannot have a constitution where the constitution will envisage for the election of a president, and then that's one we will abide by it. Then when the constitution also specifies that we should send money to assemblies as an interim provision, that one we renege on it. And for that matter, the whole of 2014, only 1/4 of the disassembly common fund was transferred. How does such an important institution undertake its functions and activities without the requisite fiscal support as envisaged by the Constitution? That shall also be ensured. And then we need to do intensive education. You know, we have to start the process early enough, and then education must go on. People must be sensitized. That is also a factor. Then we need to look at the remunerative arrangement.
Great.
People who are elected into assemblies must be adequately remunerated to be able to serve as an incentive, you know, for people to participate.
George, we'll leave it here for now. Pleasure talking to you. George Cheba is former president of NALAC. Let's talk about lollipops. They mean different things to different peoples and different organizations. Now, to the National Road Safety Commission and the Motor Traffic and Transport Department of the Ghana Police Service, lollipop could be your safe way of crossing roads here in the country. Take a look at this.
As part of our program for 2014, we decided that we wanted to begin to produce the lollipop stands, but out of resource constraints, we were not able to produce as many as we wish. So we started by looking at about 4 or 5 regions for last year. In fact, this year, in our budget and work plan for 2015, we also have made some commitments to produce some quantities. I think we are looking at some 50,000 or so to also be distributed across the country. Fortunately, in the course of last year, we had a number of private corporate institutions that had, from a distance, in the communities that they operate and are visible, had noted their, if you like, their impact, and had made commitments to assist. Yes, again, we are constrained strategically by resources, so we needed to look at the data again.
But how safe am I crossing the roads here in Ghana with a lollipop find out on News Today later on in the day at midday when I see you again. Thank you very much for your company. All the same, throughout the hour here on News Desk. My name is Kemini Nyamani Amano. See you soon.